world of handmade business can be tough when trying to monetize what you love. We've got truth bombs and motivation to help you find your way through. Passion to profit, let's start today, 'cause the world needs what you create. Tune in right now, it's your shot to learn how to be a handmade boss.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the How to Be a Handmade Boss podcast. So before we get into it today, I would love to ask you a favour. If you've been enjoying the podcast so far, you've probably listened to maybe one or two or maybe all of them if you're like amazing. And if you've been enjoying it so far, I would love for you to leave a review on Apple Podcast. Basically, they really like us to have reviews, and doing so means that not only can we carry on doing the podcast, but also means that it is going to be pushed out to more people so that it can help more. So even if you've left one before, but now you've maybe listened to a few more, leave me another one. That would be amazing. If you can, that is. And yeah, I just really wanted to make sure that we're just getting as many reviews as we can so that this does get pushed out, like I say, and also it means we can carry on actually doing this. But today we are going to be talking about overwhelm, specifically kind of talking about when you are first starting out, when you're trying to scale or grow your business, and there's just so much, and the feeling of overwhelm is very horrible. For want of a better word, it's awful. And for me, I get this wave of feeling hot when I'm overwhelmed. There's a bird right there. Hey, bird. When I'm overwhelmed, I get this feeling of being really hot, like very, very warm. And my brain starts scrabbling, which is a word that I call when it's like, I need to do this, I need to do that. Oh, but I have to do that. I didn't write this down. Why didn't I do that? And it's just very chaotic. There's a lot of different things going on. And it feels like it's all closing in on me. And that is when I have like an overwhelmed, I don't know, not attack, but like session, I guess, where I just feel like, and there's a few things that I've kind of put into play that kind of stops that. And I'm going to be talking about those today as well, but also how to stop overwhelm in the first place. So the first thing I'm going to say is to limit consuming and I'm doing air quotes, content. So a lot of you probably have consumed a lot of my videos. You probably watch my lives. You might watch a couple of other videos from other people, maybe read blog posts, maybe do this. But can you imagine that's already a lot of things that you are reading, doing, researching, learning on, whatever. And that is a lot for one person to take on board, not only mental space wise, but also to-do list wise. So my advice is always to listen to one person. Now that might not be me, and if it's not, that's okay. But listen to one person that you know, that you like, and that you trust, and just consume a little portion of their stuff. Because inevitably, most of my content is teaching you how to do something. So naturally, if you are listening to every one of my lives, reading every single blog post, listening to every single podcast, watching every single video, naturally, eventually, you're going to get overwhelmed. And you're going to be like, oh my God, Steph is telling me to do all this stuff. I can't do it. When am I going to get a chance to? And then that's when it obviously builds up and spirals into just massive amounts of overwhelm. So limit consuming to-do list content. So that could just be you watching my live and that is it until you have more time to consume the rest of it. That could be you committing to listen to the podcast every week and that is your one thing. But limit the to-do content until you have the headspace, the time, the energy to be able to kind of do a little bit more with it. Okay. The next thing is to step away. And what I would say is if limiting the content isn't kind of nipping it in the bud as much as you would hope, step away from your business. Physically shut the PC down, close the laptop lid, turn off your phone and put it down. Even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, go for a 20-minute walk. put it down, because honestly, when you are in something, when you're in it, you're blind to everything outside of it. And obviously that we don't want, because the whole idea is for you to have a life outside of business. I think something that a lot of us do is that we're so focused on winning and making it work and getting it right that we then become blind to the reason as to why we did it in the first place. And I know that a lot of you listening will really resonate with that and be like, yeah, you know what? I am someone who, if it doesn't work, I want to know why and I want to fix it. And I'm almost a bit stubborn, I suppose, because I'm that person. And I try and try and try and try. And then you're thinking, why am I trying this hard? What was I doing it for in the first place? Oh, yeah, to have more freedom, which I do not have because I'm trying so damn hard, right? So step away, take a break. It can be 30 minutes, it can be 30 days. It doesn't matter, just as long as you take that break. There is absolutely no point trying so hard at doing something if you end up burning out, burning it to the ground and hating it. Because what's the point in trying that hard? You might as well have took a break. And yes, okay, you're not doing anything for a day, a week, a month, whatever. But eventually in the long term, you're going to look back and say, yes, I needed that time off. So take a step away. Also, what I do at this point, usually when I'm on my walk or I'm taking a break, I ask myself over and over again, what's the worst that can happen? So what's the worst that can happen? And that can be, let's say, for example, for me, I tend to get overwhelmed when I'm doing like techie stuff. So that could be like fiddling around with website coding. That could be Facebook pixels. That could be all that kind of stuff. And I get overwhelmed easily when I'm doing those kinds of things. I just end up being like, oh my God. So then I go out, I step away, I ask myself, what's the worst that can happen? And I really get into it. I'm like, right, okay, well, if I don't get the Facebook pixel right, ads are going to be all wrong. I'm going to waste all of my money. I'm going to overspend. I won't be able to afford to pay myself, my staff, And then I'm like, okay, right, that's the absolute worst. Then I ask myself, what would I do in that particular instance? Okay, well, I would obviously turn Facebook ads off way before that ever happens. That's that. I'd lose money, but obviously, again, I would turn the Facebook ads off before it even got there. And then I would be like, okay, so what are the literal percentage chance of that happening, of that worst case? Well, 0.5%, because I would catch it in time before it got there. And just kind of like listing it out. What's the worst that can happen? What would you do if it ever got to that point? And what is the actual percentage chances of that actually happening? And I mean, be really real about it. And I have found that doing that really has made me go, you know what? I've built it up in my head. It's not as bad as it sounds. And honestly, it's probably not going to happen. I just need to take a break, okay? And you can rationalize things a little bit better in your head when you do go through that and you are stepping it out and saying yes. Which does lead me on to the next point, which is stepping it out. So when you return and you've had a break, you've had your walk, you've done some deep breathing, you've calmed yourself down. And again, that can be 30 minutes, that could be a week, that could be a day, that could be 6 months, whatever. When you come back to it, step it out. So step it out and actually write it down. And this is another thing that I like to do, which is looking at the little steps that need to be accomplished. And I'm a big fan of this. As you guys know, I'm a massive fan, a big fan of every day showing up and doing just a little thing. Now, I'm a big fan of doing 1 to 3 things a day that get you towards where you want to go. Now, that's not 1 to 3 tasks a day, along with a bunch of other stuff like fulfill orders and No, that's just the 1 to 3 things that you need to do in order to grow your business. And that is it. Okay, so stepping it out a little bit like that. And if it is something techie, like for me, for the Facebook pixel example, and I'm using that because like last week I had a big Facebook pixel headache. I could not figure it out. Then it linked onto website coding. I could not figure it out. So I stepped it out and I was like, okay, right. So let's take a step back here. What do I need to do? So I need to sort out the Facebook pixel. I need to sort out the website coding. Right. Okay. what's my first step? Identifying where the problem is. Great, tick. I already know that. Fantastic. Step 2 is knowing what specific bit of code is causing the problem. I don't know that. Okay, how can I know that? Right, well, I can contact someone, I can go in a Facebook group, I can ask for help, I can go on Upwork and hire someone to do it for me. What's step 3? Right, get that done, and then hopefully it should all work. And when you step it out like that, you are like, yeah, you know what? It's only like 3 or 4 steps. And one of those I can get help with. And also asking for help as well. If you need help, ask for it. It might not be me. It might not be the team. It might not even be the Facebook group. But asking someone who knows what they're doing for help will really, really help you. So stepping it out, writing out the list, and your list might be massive. You might be like, right, how am I going to make £1,000 this month? Right. Step 1, I need to get visible. I need to get eyeballs. Okay. How am I going to do that? Right. I'm going to post on Instagram reels 2 times a week. Okay, great. I can do that. I'm going to create graphics on Canva once a month for a sale that I'm going to run, and step it out little by little. Okay. So even massive goals, step them out. The next thing, like I said, is to do small steps each day. So again, once you've stepped all those things out, once you've listed them out, just do something small every day. 1 to 3 things. That is all you need. Yes, if you're impatient, that's going to be painful. But, and I'm the world's worst, I'm impatient. And the only thing with impatience is that it makes you prone to burning out. And it makes you prone and so susceptible to ending up like just burning everything to the ground because you're so annoyed with having to do everything because you're too impatient to wait for the results to show themselves. So you're ending up pushing until you push yourself over the brink and you end up being like, I can't do it anymore. And you end up just closing it down and going, no, that's it, I'm done. Rather than like pulling back off of the gas a little bit. Yes, it's going to be a bit annoying because you're not going to get results, or you think anyway, you're not going to get results as quickly as perhaps you would have liked. But just by stepping off the pedal a little bit, you're going to save yourself so much heartache and so much mental load. Okay, so small steps each day. Also, having boundaries in place is so good. So for me, the boundaries are, if I am off that day, I am off that day. Okay. And this is something that I've had to kind of really put into play over the last month or so, because we just had a massive challenge. And it was hard. It was really hard to be like, yeah, I am done. It was hard to kind of say, I am unreachable. Like, if you want me, you have to tell me before, or there's an absolute emergency number that you can contact, but apart from that, unreachable. And that was really hard because always in my brain I was like, what if something's going on? But just having that boundary in place really changed the whole game for me. So it could be something like, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed because you don't get chance to work because your kid is just like constantly being like, mum. So maybe just being like, right, I need to ask for help to have maybe 3 or 4 hours on a Wednesday or whatever. So maybe you might ask a friend, a family member, go for a play date, your other half, whatever, to just maybe take them off your hands just for 3 to 4 hours so that you can concentrate fully. Now, having that boundary in place and on almost like gatekeeping that time for you is really the ultimate act of self-care. Boundaries really are an act of self-care at the end of the day. So looking at where you need to put a boundary or 2 in place. If someone's saying, can you make my dinner, or can you tidy the kitchen, or they may be being like, you know what, I will do that, but I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it later because right now is my time to work on my business. Okay. And the last thing is having a no list. And a no list is really all the things that you say no to. So for me, that's things like virtual summits. I cannot tell you the amount of emails I get I want to invite you to this virtual summit. I want you to speak at this. And I'm just like, it's a blanket no now. Like, it doesn't matter how many people you have on your list or It's not within my wheelhouse. It's not something I'm going to really enjoy. And the chances are I'm going to be bundled in with a bunch of other people that I don't know or really care that much about, to be quite frank. I want to stay in my own lane. So therefore, it's a no to summits. That could be things like if you don't have a policy in place, perhaps, in your business for if a product is, 60 to 90 days old, and you've sent it out that they've had it for 60 to 90 days and they want a refund. Maybe that's your blanket boundary of saying, no, I'm not doing it. No, you've had it for 3 months. No. It could be something like you're putting your phone on silent whenever you're working. Maybe that's going to be I'm not answering WhatsApp messages, phone calls, texts, emails during that 2 to 4 p.m. on a Thursday. That could be your no list. Or it might even be the next time the PTA people ask me to make brownies or whatever for like the next sale. It's going to be a no. I can get some store bought, but no, I cannot make them by hand. I do not have the time. And just being okay with that, and just being okay with the looks you're going to get, the disgruntled, that you're going to get, and just being okay with it. So I know this is a bit of a shorter episode than perhaps we are used to, but I was hoping that it was going to be short and snappy. I don't want to overwhelm people for those who are already overwhelmed. I wanted to keep it short. I wanted to keep it snappy. So just to recap, limit consuming to-do content, step away, ask yourself what's the worst that can happen, list it out, step it out, do small steps each day, have boundaries in place, and have your no list. And also a little bonus one here as well is if you're still feeling overwhelmed, you've done all these things and you're still feeling, write it down, journal it out, angrily scribble, just get your emotions out so that you can process them in your mind that little bit easier. That's something that I found has really, really helped me. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear from you over Instagram DMs. That's my home hub. That's where I live. But for now, I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in to How to Be a Handmade Boss. And if you're eager to boost your Etsy sales within just 7 days, then be sure to join my most popular free training at handmadebosses.com/conversion. You can also find the link in the show notes as well. Keep an eye out for our next episode where we'll be continuing our journey towards handmade business success together. And until then, keep crafting and stay inspired because the world really does need those special creations that only you can make.